What I'd like to do today is just give a really brief look at first where we've been, where we're going to, and really why we're here. Then hand over to Michael and talk a bit about the integration that we're building in with our industry partners and how we feel that that's the right way to move forward. Right, so as I say, we started 2005 rolling out PDAs to a couple of schools in Bradford, and these were the types of issues we were looking at and where we wanted to get to really. At the end of phase one, which was really about proving the concept of this for ourselves in rolling out personalised devices in an ownership model, we had some independent research done, and that's available for download from the Learning Everywhere website, and then started looking at what we wanted to do in phase two and how to move forward. We wanted to look at larger scale research-based project. We certainly wanted to bring in or expand that project out of Bradford and really build in collaboration and work in that way. Web 2, all it done for us in big Web 2 and what we could bring in then, and the added benefits we can bring from mobile Web 2. And particularly when linking to the converged devices that we're using, and also what to still I think we've got methods of rolling out, potentially methods of funding, but still there's not a lot actually of what do we do with these things. What do we run on devices? What do we use within projects? And to make those sustainable and take them certainly from that pilot phase, as we're discussing now, and build them into sustainable long-term projects. So one of the issues that we had really was in what was ostensibly a regional project that we were trying to grow national. To take account of collaboration and sharing of good practice was how we fund that. What we certainly did was moving to working with industry partners, commercial partners, that would help us develop tool sets, applications, and methods of working. Some of the projects that we've handled. What's really worked best for us in all of this is, as I say, really collaborative pieces, and much more. When we started, we were looking at developing content and delivering this to devices. What certainly worked best for us and what we take on from here really is using these devices, whichever, as collection tools, as ways to collect, share, from point of inspiration, really, and taking account of that whole upload culture. So this was a recent project in London. We brought some year 2 to year 6 students down to House of Commons, together with some parent members from those kids, school council and teachers, and that was actually really led by the students themselves, and a superb project that involved them recording their assets as they were going through these activities, uploading those directly to the web from the mobile device and sharing that with their peers back in Bradford. And it worked, as I say, absolutely superbly. And there's Marsha Singh there, Bradford MP, being interviewed in House of Commons. And these things, as I say, really bringing in that sharing and upload culture, geotagging of assets, all these types of things, and presenting those back to their peers back in Bradford in real time. These are a few other projects that we've run, certainly a lot of environmental work, uploading geotagged data, again, straight to web and being able to share. Cross-curricular projects, these types of things built into that. Now I'm really keen that we, as I say, we want to grow a sustainable project and take this away from just the pilot phase. One of the ways that we're attaching that, certainly in the secondary projects that we run, and these projects too, as I say, are truly national. We have partners now from Edinburgh down to Bristol, an awful lot of South Yorkshire schools as well taking part in this, and all attaching, sharing good practice, sharing ideas, but of course also giving us economies of scale and allowing us to move forward. As I say, in the secondary projects that we have run in the secondary phase, we're building in voice into these mechanisms, and I really empathise with what you were saying before about the responsibility that this gives us as well. You know, this always-on culture. So together with this, we have filtering in place that takes replication of student profile direct to device, and direct to device not by SIM card but by IMEI number of the device. So uniquely there, it doesn't matter if the kids change the SIM card, it's still presenting the same options. So this is what we're building in, really. Michael talked about mlearning.mobi, but we're really looking at that rapid model, really. And I think actually we're quite close to that £99 if we're building in the mechanisms such as voice, as data from a 3G supplier. We can actually bring those device costs down, but again, really key is building in sustainability. You know, the last thing I want to do is to set a raft of kids up going, and in 2 years' time, I've got to pull that because I haven't got project funding. I need these things to keep going. The students need these things to keep going. And I'll hand over to Michael.
Thank you. I came into this background a few years ago. I was actually working at a CLC, and we've been trialling and indeed piloting what we called at the time mobile learning activity. And really, I suppose, what I'm going to try and talk about is a little bit of the experiences. My role shifted so vastly that I've had quite a lot of different experiences with this, certainly within Learning Everywhere, and the various sub-projects within Learning Everywhere. So I think I spoiled a little bit with that CLC background, because I got to play with this from a very technical perspective, but then I could also bring together with that the research we were doing and the notions of pedagogy we were trying to embody. And to that end, really, we started working with Learning Everywhere and with those projects to really ensure that good practice was being shared. So it was nice to actually hear what came previous to this with the personalised learning that you were alluding to, namely because I think the biggest thing I've learned is not to talk about mobile learning. As soon as you talk about mobile learning, I think we are referring to a device, perhaps preaching to the converted looking round. But I think certainly where our success has been, or where we've seen success, is being able to speak about a new way of working, or to speak about how we're going to embody principles like personalised learning that happens to be congruent with what a mobile learning device or an ambient device affords us. So I think on the projects we've worked on, we have tried to put the learner very much at the heart of the whole process and focus on those experiences. And really, looking back through my education, I'm only young, it's not so long ago, but looking at the different skills and the different experiences that each and every learner is coming, both in the classroom with, but taking outside of the classroom. And if we can centre that learning around that learner, and move towards what we know and what theory suggests about how we learn. And we have a device, to allude to that is supporting that construction of knowledge and that linkage between, well, the communication is to engage in social dialogue. And really that's what we try to embody in a lot of projects.
Yeah.
So, yes, suggest handheld learning, and I think in terms of what we've learned is this idea of this device that fits in a hand or fits in a pocket and hopefully is the single device that any given learner possesses. And I think that is where we really see the power of mobile learning and really see the power of what we try to embody. We effectively have a device with us that is used in every aspect of our social lives. And our learners are communicating through a multitude of different formats, voice, text, etc. They're accessing content on their devices, and they're creating content on their devices anyway. They're using it for leisure, they're using it for entertainment. It's every dimension of our learners' social lives. And I think the important thing is, well, why not use those skills they've got to afford learning? And that is really where this comes in, the idea of any time, anywhere, and in any context. And if you like, the strapline for learning everywhere has been learning at the point of inspiration. Well, fantastic. At the time I have an opportunity to learn, I can use those skills that I have developed through my social life over years and years to access learning in a context and express myself in a context that I'm familiar with. And I like this notion of an ambient device, and I think this is why we've advocated a single handheld device, because it is ambient to those learners, because it is part of their life. And on the presentation earlier, mentioning very much the idea that you take my phone away from me and I'm lost. Well, that's because that is part of their life now. It's a natural extension. It's almost like clothing. You wouldn't go out without your clothing, and it's just an extension of what our learners are doing. So really, moving forward, and lessons learned, which I suppose this section is really talking about, we've tried to embody and work in such a way that we can embrace personalised learning agenda. And one of the ways we've tried to do that is looking at the notion of tailoring content to suit user needs. We have focused very much on the learner, as we should, quite rightly. And it's a personal device, it's personal ownership of that learning. But where we found success, or certainly what we've learned, is needing to root the teacher or the academic practitioner very much within that process. And what I mean by that is giving them the tool set. So again, that was contented to see what you were speaking about, but giving them the tool sets to be able to tailor content to suit user needs, and to involve that academic practitioner or that teacher within that learning process, which again is where we're coming to thinking about teachers becoming a facilitator in the learning process. So with that shared ownership, we've got a very good opportunity really to have little Johnny who's struggling in his lesson with identifying angles, for example. So as a teacher, I should be able to interact with that student by providing them in context and at the right time some content or some learning or an activity that they can actually, in that context, begin to learn. And the teacher, therefore, really facilitating that learning process. And I think from there, the learner then being able to create a construct of their own knowledge, and again, this whole upload culture that all our learners are very familiar with. And obviously, we're all speaking about the MySpaces of this world and Facebooks. Those literacies of our students that are constantly being used, we're creating, and it's a creating culture and an upload culture. So one of the lessons we learned, I think, is we started thinking it's just about content, independent learning devices, and then realised, no, we've got such a phenomenal way of letting that learner then create a construct of their knowledge, share that back with the teacher, who can then reconstruct something as a result of what they have just received back from that student. And I like the suggestion that they then talk about that. And something, again, which is often left out of the whole process is talking about why your perspective differs from my perspective. And I suppose, is that not learning, really inducting ourselves to those different perspectives and understanding why people think differently to us? That's very congruent, I suppose, with constructivism and social constructivism, and really what we're trying to embody, I suppose, with mobile learning is the very fact it's a new way of working. And current thinking around teaching and learning, how we learn, suggests that's what we should be doing, giving students and learners an opportunity to create knowledge constructs and then talk about why they did it the way they did and why different opinions and different perspectives of our peers can come together and help that student learn effectively. So all of that, really, I think what we tried to do is harness those social skills to be able to work congruent to what we know about how people learn. What that does effectively mean, though, we do need changes in assessment, and again, I think this has been something which has run through a lot of these seminars. The real power for me is the mode of expression, and that's what mobile learning for me really means. I remember in school, if I was to be assessed and I had to write something down, I could not express myself fully. My word, it'd run away and I'd forgot what I was about to write. So this change in assessment should be starting to accommodate that I might want to talk about what I'm trying to articulate as opposed to write that down. Or I might want to create a video because these hybrid devices, I've got a video where I can create this. Or I can take photographs and annotate them photographs, essentially to create constructs of knowledge in a very different way, and assessment just needs to value that. And I think what we've tried to do with the teachers in the projects is start allowing those teachers to understand that we need these students to be able to be assessed in that way, and to really embody that in their teaching and learning practice, and this is merely a catalyst for doing that. So I think in summary, and obviously we can talk more about how that's practically worked within Learning Everywhere, but what we're trying to say is we've got learners who socially use these devices in every aspect, and we just need to harness that, and we need to take on board those opportunities and utilise that for the power of learning, and that is just congruent with these new ways of working, as I think is more important than saying mobile learning. It's this new way of working. I think really in summary that comes down to what we're saying in a general sense. I think the practicalities of that is really, and we haven't really prepared this final part of the discussion purposely because...
Yeah, I mean, we'd certainly like to open that up later on. You know, as Michael says, we see this happening all the time. We see, we recently took a group of kids just on a, you know, they actually weren't part of the Learning Everywhere project at all, but in my wider work, we took a group of, they were actually Muslim kids, to a brewery for a science day. You know, I was the devil for some of that time to an awful lot of people. But what we're seeing happening in that was when the master brewer was there, talking about that brewing process. Almost every child had their mobile device out anyway, had their mobile phone out, recording, writing down, videoing the experience and what was happening. Now, if we allow those assets to be used, then absolutely superb piece of work going on. And I suppose in summary, as Michael says, what we're certainly doing is bringing in different tool sets, different ways of working to increase sustainability and move this on from the pilot stage. I think there certainly has been enough pilots now. Let's stop talking about pilots. I think we all know this is why we're here at Deaf O'Clock on a Friday afternoon. This is, you know, we're all keen. We're all really keen to make this happen. We all know it works. Let's stop talking about pilots. Let's just move these things on. Okay.
Thank you.